Mike here from Bikes by Mike with another cycling related video. Today I'm giving you two things for the price of one. I'll be reviewing my newly purchased Continental Aero 111 road tire. And I'll be discussing a very new trend that's potentially game changing, running different front and rear tires. Is it a gimmick or is it the future of road bike performance? Okay, let's get to it. In today's video, I'll start off explaining the theory behind front and rear wheel specific tires. I'll then talk about Continental's approach with their Aero 111 and GP5000 tires. I'll compare the specs on these two tires, followed by a review of the claimed Aero Gains for the 111. I'll tell you how easy or not the tires are to mount, and then I'll give you my take on the overall ride feel. Finally, I'll wrap things up with my rating and final thoughts. For years, most of us have run the same tire front and rear. Kind of makes sense, right? But the airflow around the front wheel is fundamentally different from the airflow at the back. The front tire is the first point of contact with the wind, so the airstream that hits the leading edge of the tire is clean and relatively free of turbulence, while the airflow leaving the wheel is turbulent, what is often called dirty air. So airstream that hits the rear tire is already very turbulent when it hits the back of the wheel and becomes even more turbulent when it detaches from the wheel, what's known as the wake. The actual pattern of airflow isn't important here. What is important is the concept that how airflow interacts with the front tire and wheel will always be different than how it responds at the back of the bike. And as long as the laws of physics stand true, which isn't likely to change, it really does open up the door for tire manufacturers to design distinct front and rear wheel specific tires that are optimized for the type of airflow that the tire will encounter. And that brings us to the tire choice and tire pairing I'm using today. Continental is a company that most cyclists already know a bit about because they've been making premium bicycle tires for many years. Their GP5000 road tire is one of the most popular tires on the road today. And there's good reason for that. They are fast, durable, and perform really well in pretty much all conditions. I absolutely love these tires and used them on the front and rear of my Cannondale Super 6 all of last season. Check out my review of the GP5000s in the link below. Continental designed the Aero 111 in collaboration with two other companies, both being producers of bicycle wheel sets. DT Swiss, which everyone has heard of, and Swiss Side, which many of you may not be familiar with. Continental is also one of the first tire companies to market a front wheel specific tire designed to minimize drag in that crucial leading edge position. One of the most significant design elements of the Aero 111 are 48 vortex generating cavities that create turbulent airflow on the surface that enables the air to stick to the curvature of the rim. The result is a maximization of the sailing effect by delaying the point at which airflow separates from the rim. If I bring up my earlier illustration of the cross-section of a front wheel, you can see the difference in the dirty air created by a traditional road tire versus the Aero 111. The traditional tire creates quite a large wake behind the leading edge, while the Aero 111 with its vortex cutouts creates a smoother airflow as it leaves the wheel, which reduces the amount of turbulence created as airflow detaches from the tire and rim. And this is exactly what you want. Continental recommends pairing the 111 with a slightly wider, more versatile tire like the GP5000 S TR. So for this season, that's the setup I'm going with. I'll be leaving my GP5000 tire on the rear wheel and swapping at the front with the Aero 111. And like I always do, I'll be running them tubeless with Silca Ultimate Tubeless Sealant. Now, I only have the GP5000s in size 28C, so I'm going to stick with that size for the rear wheel. The Aero 111 is only available in sizes 26 and 29C. I've chosen to go with the larger of the two, the size 29C. Even though Continental recommends going narrower on the front, 26 just felt a bit too narrow for me. At least one of the pro teams has been spotted with the exact setup I'm going with, the Aero 111 on the front and GP5000 at the rear. That's the Decathlon AGTR Mondial team, but I'm pretty sure I've seen others out there. I just can't remember who they are. If you know, drop me a comment in the description. Let's get into the details. Here's a quick rundown on the key specs of both tires. Starting with price, the GP5000 S TR currently retails in Canada for $124.95, while the Aero 111 sells for $152.95. For sizes, the GP5000 comes in 25, 28, 30, and 32C, while the Aero 111 currently only comes in sizes 26C and 29C. For weight, the GP5000 comes in at 275 grams for a 28C tire, while the Aero 111 comes in at 280 grams for the same size. In terms of design and construction, the GP5000 comes with the black chili compound, Vectran, laser grip, and active comfort, while the Aero 111 also has the black chili compound, Vectran, but also has design and the vortex generators from Swisside. In terms of aero claims, the GP5000 comes in at 20% faster than the previous version, and the Aero 111 is 4-watt savings at 30 kilometers per hour with a 20-degree yaw, and 20-watt savings at 45 kilometers per hour at a 20-degree yaw. So what kind of aero gains are we specifically talking about here? According to Continental's own testing, the Aero 111 tire, being the red line, tested at 30 kilometers per hour, does show an aerodynamic advantage over the GP5000 S TR, shown by the gray line. But the aero drag savings is highly dependent on the yaw angle. At lower yaw angles, the performance between the tires is almost identical, but at higher angles, the Aero 111 is far superior, saving a claimed 4 watts over the GP5000 at a yaw angle of 20 degrees, which is significant. What's really intriguing here is that 2 of the 4 watts in aero drag savings is negative drag. What that means is that half of the drag reduction is created by the wind actually propulsing the wheel forward, much like the way crosswinds are used to power a sailboat. And at higher speeds of 45 kilometers per hour, the aero drag savings are even more lopsided, with Aero 111 saving 20 watts over the GP5000 at yaw angles over 20 degrees. I was only able to find one independent test of the Aero 111, and that was from Aero Coach. They provide wind tunnel testing services to pro and amateur riders. Their results replicate the results shown by Continental, although not quite as dramatic. For moderate yaw angles below 10 degrees, the Aero 111 performs pretty much identical to the GP5000. It's at yaw angles above this that the Aero 111 performed better than the 2 other tires tested. Personally, I do believe Continental's test results are legit for a few reasons, not the least of which is that any exaggeration of the performance gains of the Aero 111 is done to the detriment of the tire they are comparing it to, their own GP5000. The bigger question is whether these significant aero savings at the higher yaw angles are applicable in the real world, and that's where the aero claims are a bit less spectacular. You see, we spend more of our time riding at lower yaw angles. AeroCoach estimates that cyclists riding in typical outdoor conditions will spend about 80% of their time with the angle of attack of the wind less than 10 degrees. And at those angles, the Aero 111 behaves very much like any other tire. But even though on the surface this sounds discouraging, I think of it as a massive marginal gain. Now that's an oxymoron. Because even if the Aero 111 tire is only really helping you out 20% of the time, saving 4 watts or more is still a big advantage over a rider with a conventional tire setup. There's no disputing that. Now let's talk about something of a major pet peeve with most tubeless tires: installation. After performance and durability, ease of installation is what matters the most to me when choosing a tire. Tubeless tires can be a pain, we all know that. I've read reports online, and the general consensus is that the Aero 111s are about as easy to mount as GP5000s. The Aero 111s for me were very easy to mount. I was able to do it entirely with my hands and didn't need tire levers. Getting the tire bead to lock into place was easy to do with an air compressor. I was able to dry fit them on the very first attempt. Part of the reason it went so easy is my prep was done right. I unboxed my tire early in the day and let it both relax to its natural shape and warm up inside my house before attempting to mount it on the rim. Tire pressure is almost as important as tire choice itself. It affects ride feel, rolling resistance, grip, and even aerodynamics. Don't just guess. Use a tire pressure calculator and set your tire pressure correctly. I personally like Silka's calculator, but there are many other good choices out there. For my weight, I typically run 80 psi at the rear and 78 in the front. So that's what I inflated these tires to. I've tested this tire combo now for just over a month, put a lot of mileage on them in a variety of riding conditions, with most of this mileage on my recent trip to the Valencia region in Spain. So day 3 from Antonyet to Jativa, I think it's called, Castle Jativa. Just want to take a break to talk about the Continental Aero 111 tires, or tire, it's front specific tire. So I've tested it out now for 3 days in a variety of conditions. No rain though, but kind of varied temperatures and certainly a lot of flats descending and climbing. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed. The grip, these are the 29Cs, and the grip is exceptionally good. GP5000s are known for being very good. This is probably a similar rubber compound. But I would say the grip is even better. Whether or not there's any Aero Gains, like I say, I've covered that in this video, but they do feel fast. They feel fast relative to riders I'm around and just a general feel, but that's totally subjective. It doesn't mean a heck of a lot. What I can say is I'm almost certain that they behave better in crosswinds than GP5000s or pretty much any other tire. I'm really familiar with these wheels, my custom light bicycle rims with GT Swift 180 hubs, the custom wheels I built a couple years ago. And I just know when the winds get up to like 20-25 kilometer an hour and up gusts, I don't feel unstable, but I feel the wind. I definitely feel the wind less with these. So even if there's no Aero Gain, it's still a really good tire. And I don't see any downside, you know, it's still a relatively light tire, and it is super grippy. Nobody is going to complain about the grip of these tires. So that's 3 days of riding, quite a few kilometers, but I'll test it out more in the week and see if my opinion changes. Is this mix and match tire setup the future of road bikes? I think so, and there's real science and testing to back up the claimed Aero Gains. This Continental tire combo is a prime example. Will you see a difference? That depends a lot on how you ride and the wind conditions you ride in. Subjectively, for me, these tires felt fast and handled extremely well in crosswinds. And even with no Aero Gains, I'd keep using them because they have such a nice ride feel. Overall, I give the Aero 111s a score of 9 out of 10. My one criticism of this tire is its price point. At $153 Canadian, it's at the high end for a premium road bike tire. That's all I got for today, folks. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you're not a subscriber to this channel, please subscribe, as allow me to produce more content for all of you. See you next time. Happy rolling.